What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So it's weekly rotation time, and I've decided before pressing record, I'm going to put some kind of wild-ass title. Just as an experiment, right? Because weekly rotation is still going to be in the title as well. But for those of you that are here, expecting whatever that wild title is, I'm not saying they can't do those things. I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet on what the title is going to be. But it's going to relate to smelling great, because it is a rotation full of absolutely fantastic smelling fragrances. Hefty, heavier, spicy stuff this week. Also, just on the other side of it, some fresh and green stuff, because it was very bipolar weather this week. I had cold, like literally it's in the 40s today. And it was just in the high 60s, low 70s, nice mild spring weather this week. So it's been wild. But got some fantastic smelling fragrances in this week's rotation because it's week number 218. So stay tuned. Starting off on Sunday, these two options could look bipolar because one's on the heavier, spicier side and one is very, very fresh. During the day, I went with the new Intense Red Tobacco from Mancera. I prefer this to the original. I would take this 10 out of 10 times over the original. That pungent, intense sweetness of the original in the opening is dialed back greatly. This is more about leather and woods. Still smoky, still has some sweetness, a little fruity. It's pear versus peach and apple, so not as sweet, but still a little fruity. Very ambery, warm and spicy. It's still got a lot of, it still smells like red tobacco, but a more refined version of red tobacco. I prefer it, man. If you don't have red tobacco, get a sample of both. Try the Intense and the original. You might end up liking the Intense a bit more. I do. It's not as nuclear of a performer, but it's still a beast. This is still a beastly fragrance. It's just when you compare it to the original, that's an absolute just face-melting monster. This is a 40% concentration and lingers. It has the kind of sillage you would expect from a niche fragrance with a high, very high oil concentration. This stuff is phenomenal. I can't recommend it enough. This is one of my top 3 favorite Manceras from the house, and it was a pleasure to wear it once again during the day. Was Mancera's Intense Red Tobacco. When I got the shower, it was time for a good shave. I went with what seems to be Old Faithful at this point with my Dior Sauvage Aftershave Splash. You can see I have been using it quite a bit. Whenever I do run through this, I will get another one. I quite enjoy it. The wife loves the way Sauvage smells. Smells like the EDT, just a little bit fresher because it's a lower oil concentration because it's an aftershave. Makes my skin feel great. I go nose blind to it very quickly, but my wife likes to smell it and tells me how good I smell, even though I can't smell it after a very short period of time. But if you like Sauvage, that beautiful metallic citric spicy shower gel smell, this is more on the citrus than it is on the spice versus the EDT spray, but out the shower, I was smelling great with Dior Sauvage Aftershave. Moving into Monday, both offerings that I wore this day were bright, juicy citrus. This is Mind Game's Vieri, heavy on the citron note, beautiful pink pepper. It's got a grassy vetiver smell, very green and clean and musky. A little spiced, nothing too heavy though because it's so fresh and airy. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I believe it's pink pepper that's in here that offers a little bit of sweetness. I could be mistaken, but citron, musk, a little on the woody and green side, that it definitely is. Such a juicy, fresh, watery citrus smell. Man, it's even got a little bit of a zing to it, if you will. And performance is actually pretty good. This one lasts around 8 hours on my skin. For as bright and fresh as this fragrance is, that's fantastic performance. Now look, these are pricey. I would not recommend blind buying this. Get to a Neiman Marcus or something, try them for yourself, or get a 2 ml sample in the link below and try it for yourself. Definitely a pricey bottle though. Got to keep in mind this is higher level luxury when it comes to niche fragrances. Mind Games is pricey stuff, but man, I haven't tried anything that hasn't been just fantastic from this brand. During the day was Mind Games Vieri, and then I went from something very expensive to very cheap. $14 I paid for this 40 ml. This is Happy Chopard Lemon Dulci, and this is a very happy fragrance. It definitely puts me in a great mood. It smells fantastic. It is a bright, watery citrus lemon smell. A little creamy, but more so has this fresh floral, flowery type of take. It's actually a women's fragrance, but I don't find it leans feminine. It's an absolute delight to wear. This has become one of my favorites to wear out the shower in the evenings when I just want something fresh. It is so good. Fresh out the shower, airy clean. Smells like a nice dose of lavender. I don't remember the notes exactly, but it smells like a fresh, airy lavender smell. It's a little on the soapy, lemony type of side in the opening. Just beautiful stuff. Clean and musky. Nothing crazy complex. Decent quality, too. Doesn't smell ultra synthetic for being a $14 fragrance for 40 ml, but it's good stuff. I was smelling great this day. What can I say? If you like fresh, I had a hell of a fresh fragrance kind of day. With Mind Games Vieri, and then to cap it off, I had Happy Chopard's Lemon Dulci. Moving into Tuesday, you'll notice a theme with this week, even though it's got some wild title. I was killing the game with the rotation and the diversity of each day because I started the day with Zaharoff's signature Black Rose, beautiful, super spicy, warm, dry and woodsy, rose-heavy fragrance, resinous, nice and ambery, rich Sri Lankan black pepper. This is so spicy. Very oriental, resinous, and woodsy. Beautiful, beautiful fragrance. Monster sillage. My nose does wear out to this one. It comes back to life a few hours into it once the fragrance starts to settle down and my nose can kind of gain its sensitivity back. But this is such a beautiful release from Zaharoff. Definitely one of the better releases in the last 12 months. I would say during the day, absolutely sample worthy is Zaharoff Signature Black Rose. And then when I got out the shower, this was an interesting choice because goes back to how I was killing the game. Valentino, Born in Roma, Intense. Not one that I typically wear all that often. It's, and I forgot what was said in my live stream a few days ago. Somebody mentioned it perfectly, the way they described it. Generic, but smells great, nothing special. Kind of in that vein. And that's kind of how I feel about it. It smells done before, done to death, but it smells really good. Everybody needs a fragrance like this in their wardrobe, in my personal opinion. Something you can just go for that you know everyone around you is not going to think you smell bad. You're going to smell nice, fresh, clean, a little citric, maybe even a little touch fruity and musky. Has that cleanliness, just mass appeal. It's a very beautiful, mass appealing fragrance that admittedly I have a ton of. I have hundreds of fragrances that do the same job this one does, but for somebody with a small collection, this is probably a good option for you. Has a little bit of an aquatic vibe to it, a little bit of a dark, like a smoky wood type of nuance on my skin. Out in the air, I don't get much of it, but directly off of my skin, I do. I might be the only one that gets that, but it's the way it reacts with my chemistry. This is good stuff. Is it my favorite from the brand? No, Coral Fantasy is definitely my favorite. They have better offerings, in my opinion, but if you're looking for that crowd pleaser, it's more than likely going to garner a compliment or two here and there for you. High compliment factor DNA. You're going to want to check this one out then. Give it a sample. Out the shower, I went with Valentino Born in Roma Intense. Moving into Wednesday, Valentine's Day. So I reached for one that's a personal favorite of my wife's that I haven't wore in many years at this point. Very hay-like dry smell to it, like vetiver, woodsy type of tone. A lot of rhubarb in the top. It is the original Mercedes-Benz Club. I haven't wore this in quite some time. It's a little spiced, very fresh, crazy strong too. You'd be surprised for being as fresh as it is. It's super strong. I've always liked it. I've never loved it the way my wife does, but I wanted to wear something I knew she would thoroughly enjoy that I haven't worn in a long time. I wore it during the day when we went do our thing later in the evening. I refreshed. So I did actually go through kind of 2 wearings of it technically. Even though it didn't need a refresh, I still wanted to refresh it. It was like 7 hours in, because this stuff will give me 12 hours of longevity easy with decent sillage. Even when it calms down, it's a decent sillage, but not one that I would encourage and recommend to everyone. But my wife for some reason seems to love this fragrance. During the day and the early evening festivities, I went with Mercedes-Benz Club, the original. And then winding down in the evening, I just did a video on this one. It is a pineapple bomb. It's Lattafa's Rave Now, or Rave Now Black, as it seems to be called as well online. Get that to focus. There we go. Interesting bottle, gotta say. Garbage cheapo sprayer, just terrible. but it does its job, man. So I get where people are coming from with the correlation to Aventus. I get less of Aventus and more of just juicy fruit pineapple. I don't get a whole lot of musk and a little bit of black currant, but I don't get like birch and all these different things that are in the notes. Because if you look at the notes, it's supposed to be Aventus, and it definitely walks the path of an extremely fruity pineapple heavy Aventus. But on me, it's very linear. It's pineapple and musk basically is what I get from start to finish, with not a lot of change and nuance. But it does smell really good. It does smell extremely synthetic, though, I have to say. I put this up there with the kind of synthetic that I get from like Club de Nuit Intense Man, the Eau de Toilette. That level of synthetic, but I like that fragrance too. So be mindful of it, that it doesn't smell expensive. It smells as cheap as it is. Sometimes fragrances smell much more expensive than they are when you get them in the $20 to $30 range. This one does smell on the cheaper side, but that's not always a bad thing, because I'm going to spray it again. This is a good smell. Oh man, if you like, artificial pineapple, it's one of the better artificial pineapple bomb fragrances I've ever smelled. I got to say, I do like Kate Alfresson a little more, because I know somebody's going to ask. I do prefer that one to this, but this is still a good fragrance. Still a good fragrance. Again, I would prefer from Lattafa Kate Alfresson. There's more nuance. The saffron shines in that one, and I think it's a little bit better, but it's solid. Out the shower, Lattafa's Rave Now. Moving into Thursday, man, oh man, it was nice to revisit this one. And yes, I wore it during the day. It was nice and cool. We went by the beach with our matching hoodies on, and I had some jogger shorts, I guess you could say. They're like cut-off sweaters, some Under Armour shorts. They're like fleece. They look like gray sweatpants, but shorts. Like, I don't know exact fleece shorts. Fleece rival shorts, I think is the technical name for them. But anyways, I went with 1 Million Elixir from Paco Rabanne. This is still one of the better fragrances to come out in the line. And I did a shorts video, like, oh, Prive and Lucky. I get that. I understand. I was just talking about how the hype kind of died down on this one, was what I was referring to. And it's still a hell of a fragrance. I do like the enhanced woody nuance with the rose, that sweetness that it has. It's not overly spicy. It's also not crazy sweet. I think the rose and the woodiness really balance things out with this fragrance. Performance is fantastic. This is a straight up beast of a fragrance. It is some good stuff. Even a little bit of a chocolatey, vanillic type of nuance to this one. I think it's special. I think it still deserves just as much love as it did when it came out. We kind of move on to the next thing. We're all about the next new thing when it comes to fragrances in this hobby. And sometimes we need to revisit some of these hype monsters that from when they released, because this one still deserves the love and the hype. This is still one of the better Elixir flankers to come out in the designer market, in my opinion. I was smelling great. I love it. The wife loves it too. During the day, I went with 1 Million Elixir from Paco Rabanne. Then I got out the shower. I don't know what made me smell it, but I was smelling like a more woodsy take of Elysium with Fomo Parfums, a Fraghead's Asylum. This is a good fragrance, I gotta say. Is it the best Elysium clone out there? Probably not. Best is subjective. I would say, is it my favorite? Not really. It's up there, though. I would say it's top 3. My favorite still has to be probably Sammy Andrus Blue Sapphire. That's more of an inspiration. It's very metallic and inky fruity, but it's really, really good stuff. Zion from Alexandria is fantastic. Trillium from Paris Corner. I love when I used to wear fragrances to the gym all the time. That was my favorite for that scent profile. Imperium from Fragrance World is really good. I've heard Divine Asylum's really good. There's so many good options out there, and this is definitely in that upper tier of really good Elysium clones. Because you'll notice that oud's listed in the notes if you look it up. I don't get an oud smell. If anything, it just enhances the woody nuance, that kind of dry wood smell that I do get from it. So if you're interested on a slightly more woodsy twist on Elysium Parfum Cologne, the blue bottle, you might want to look into this one. Out the shower, Fomo Parfums, a Fraghead's Asylum. Moving into Friday, these two options were phenomenal. It was a phenomenal combo throughout the day. Starting with during the day, I went with one of the newest additions to my collection, Lalique Equus Pour Homme Eau de Parfum. This is the one with the horse, not the lion. This is super fresh and super peppery. When you see the notes, it's cardamom. It smells like freaking black pepper to me. Very peppery type of cardamom note. Bright, airy, almost ozonic-like. Very, very fresh. Not even super watery, but very, very bright. And very peppery. That's my takeaway. It's linear. It kind of stays that way. It doesn't change much. Doesn't smell super cheap, though it's a $20-some-odd fragrance. super peppery, warm and spicy, but still airy and fresh. It's a condescending, not contradictory. I didn't mean condescending, contradictory scent profile, because typically you won't get a bunch of warm spice with bright, fresh, and airy. Normally, it's kind of one or the other unless there's a big transition, but you kind of get them both at the same time, which it sounds like it wouldn't work, but it totally works. I like this one a lot. This is a great everyday fragrance for somebody that likes spicy fragrances. This guy definitely does. So I highly recommend checking this one out. For everybody that recommended it to me, you were absolutely right, and I'm now passing that recommendation along. This is a great fragrance for about 25 bucks. During the day, Lalique Equus pour Homme, Eau de Parfum. This is the horse head on the back, not the lion head. Then when I got the shower, it was time for a good shave. So, man, I haven't used this shave set in a while, and so good. Zaharoff signature Citrine, the soap, the splash, and of course I gave myself some sprays of the fragrance. This is so freaking good. Sweet, orange, limey, clementine, and I get plenty of incense. The olibanum that's in here really shines. Even out in the air I get a smokiness, but on skin it really opens up. It's warm and ambery, but still very bright, super fresh. This is, in my opinion, the best opening of all the Zaharoff fragrances. The best opening. Citrine is so good. People complain about performance, but it's all about experience. I actually do get pretty decent performance out of it. It goes every bit of 6 to 7 hours longevity. About an hour projection if I'm lucky. This one, if I heat up, is where I get some good sillage. But to each their own. Everybody's different. Sample, sample first. They did have a small restock that came in the past week, but I believe they're sold out already. I didn't double check, but I want to say I heard people saying it was sold out already. But beautiful for the summertime. If you live in a warm climate, this is freaking amazing. Out the shower, one was the Zaharoff signature Citrine, the shave set, and the fragrance. Finally, on Saturday, what I'm wearing currently, and it's strong. It was really strong. I got 5 sprays around the neck. It was really strong for like the first hour. It was kind of overwhelming me, I gotta say. It's a new fragrance to my collection. I've been asked about this one countless times. Finally got it. It's a 1 million Prive clone from Paris Corner in their Pendora scents line. This is Milano Prive. This is a great clone. It really is. Don't spend the $200+ that people are commanding for 1 million Prive on eBay. Just get this for like 27 bucks, 30 bucks, whatever. It's good enough. It's really close. It smells great. Performance is really good. Man, this smells so good. That cinnamon tobacco smell with that 1 million sweetness. Warm and ambery. Fall in a bottle. I know we're not moving into autumn. We're moving into spring, but it still works on these cooler days. I mean, it was cold today. It was nice and chilly. It was in the mid-40s to high 40s all day long. This worked. This knife through that cold. Smelled great. I only have it around my neck. I can still get little mild whiffs of it here and there. Nothing strong anymore, but that first hour, it was intensely powerful, I have to say. So I highly encourage you, if you wanted 1 million Prive, to just go after this. This is Paris Corner's version from their Pendora scents line, Milano Prive. And then when I take my shower in a little bit, this caught my eye earlier, and I said, yeah, it's been a couple of weeks. I want to wear it. Speaking of Paris Corner, this is in their North Stag Expressions collection. This is Quatre, number 4. This is their LV Afternoon Swim clone. Watery orange, clean musk, a little bit of zest to it. Man, if you love citrus, this is damn good. And I smelled Afternoon Swim at Louis Vuitton a few weeks ago, right around the time I got this. And sure, that's a little bit better quality, but not 10 times the price better quality. Or 8 times the price, whatever it works out to be. 8 times the price. This is good enough. I like it. This is now, when I want Afternoon Swim, I'm wearing this. I don't care to try any other clones. This makes me happy. This brings a smile to my face. Sammy Andrus Pool Day is pretty good. It's a little heavier, a little bit denser because it's a higher oil concentration, but this is super airy and fresh. If you want a little bit denser take on the DNA, try Sammy Andrus Pool Day. If you want the brightest and the freshest, this is a banger. This is my favorite of the bunch, even though I've been wearing the Tiger clone the most. This is great. I can't wait to spray this out the shower tonight, especially just spraying it and smelling it. Paris Corner, Noah Stag Expressions, Quatre. Well, that was this past week's rotation. And until next time, do me a real quick favor. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, because I do appreciate all the feedback. And I love hearing from you guys. What you guys wear this week? Comment down below. I'm always curious to see what you guys have had in your rotation. I love reading those comments. This is my favorite recorded format to do every week, for those of you that didn't know. Yeah, so I had a really good smelling week, as per usual, but I don't know. It seemed better than most recent weeks. Just did. It was some crazy good fragrances, wildly diverse because the weather was so bipolar, but we made it shake. That just meant that I got to have a lot of variety if I wanted to be appropriate with the weather anyways. And until next time, I will say, if you get your hands on any of the fragrances I wore this past week and give them a spray now, you might end up thanking me later. Have a good one, guys.